joining here and watching both in Zoom and on Facebook. So should we get rolling, Ruth?
Let's get rolling. So welcome. We're glad you're with us. We hope it's not hailing where you are. My name is Ruth Nicholson, and I'm part of the customer success team here at TeamGenius, along with Gabe Skelly, who is the customer success manager at TeamGenius. And today, what we want to do is help you solve your puzzles around in-season evaluations. I actually really love puzzles. I got a new one. I got a new jigsaw puzzle the other day. And one of the things that I love the most about working with Gabe and working at TeamGenius is taking what our customers are doing on the field, on the ice, on the court, and solving the puzzle of how to translate that into something that TeamGenius can help make easier to do. So today, by the end of our conversation today, I want you to be able to do 4 things. 1, I want you to be able to set up a mid-season or an end-of-season evaluation for your players, to know how to do that. And then I want you to be able to identify which reports and what kind of results you want to share, both with your players and their parents and their families. 3rd, I want you to know how to send out those evaluation results, communicate them and send them out using the TeamGenius email system. That'll make it really easy. You do not have to do it one by one by one by one. And lastly, as a bonus, we want to talk about how to set up your evaluations now so you have the ability over time to show a series of linked reports that can show your player progress and how they're developing in the sport and getting better, hopefully getting better, because that's kind of the key to helping you be seen as the club that everybody in the neighborhood wants to be a part of. So Gabe, when you talk to more customers per week than anybody I know, when you talk to them about in-season evaluation, what are the biggest benefits that you see that people get, that players and families get from doing in-season evaluations?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the things, from the parent standpoint, is they get some good feedback for their kids and how they're doing, maybe ways that they can directly help them. Just like going to school, is if parents go to conferences and they have that meeting with the teacher and they see what their kids can do better. I think those in-season evaluations, especially if they're multiple times, depending upon how the organization rolls them out, huge benefit to the parents, because they can either look at it, or some clubs will even bring parents in to have those feedback kind of review sessions with how the player's doing. Maybe they'll do them virtually, but sharing those with the parents, give the parents, ideas on how their kids could be improving. Maybe for the parents, it's also giving them an idea of, all the money they're spending into XYZ sport, like what they're getting back for that. Because I know some of the, the bigger organizations we work with, the more elite ones, sometimes it can be, $10,000 a year for a player to, be part of that organization. If it's a, elite traveling team, these kind of things, and it gives the parents a little bit more, value for what they're putting into it. But there's also, between the kids and parents, it's a lot of value for the kids too, because they can see, how they're doing a lot of times on individual criteria on how they are improving or need to improve on whatever the criteria is the club's using. But they can also see, a lot of times I'll see clubs do, 3 areas that the player was excellent at, so what they excelled at, and a lot of times three areas of needs improvement. So they get that positive feedback along with those things that you can improve on, and how they're doing. And if you pair that with doing it multiple times over the year, you can really help track how a player is getting better as an athlete over the course of that year.
Wonderful. So why don't can you share your screen and let's build out a sample assessment to show people, like, step by step how you can do that?
Yeah.
So if we start, the basic building block, at least of how TeamGenius supports in-season evaluations, is through scoring forms. And we talk about scoring forms. It's basically the electronic version of that sheet of paper you used to stick on your clipboard before you went out to evaluate players. And the great thing about it being electronic is you don't have to compile all of those sheets of paper. You can let the computer do it. So if we start You want to just start from scratch then?
Yeah, you can start a brand new one to show everybody what it looks like. So.
All right.
And can you see my screen okay right now?
I can.
Okay. Expand this now. So, Ruth, what kind of sport would you like to look at building out first?
Oh, you know I'm really fond of soccer.
Okay.
So let's do soccer.
Let's look at soccer. So I'm going to go over to, if I was in TeamGenius here, go to create assessment, and I'll just build out a new one, and I'm going to do a team evaluation feedback style. I'm going to continue here, and I'll do Ruth 2020 soccer season eval. And I'm going to click on I'll build my own. And so now we can go in here and do the setup of this. So in the setup of this, kind of different ways to do it. So we've got scoring forms, and we can do, quantitative and subjective. Ruth, what kind of things do you think you want to score your players on?
I think I want a subjective scoring form, because some of the things I want to look at are their ability to read the game, their first touch. Yeah.
Right, so we'll do this.
Let's do a subjective scoring form.
Okay. What do you want to name this form for that kind of subjective things?
I want to do this by month for my fall season. So October, November, and December. So let's just do basic skills.
Okay. Let's do basic skills. I'm gonna put it set a scoring increment from a 0.5 point up to a 5th point or 5 points, which is pretty common. I'm gonna click on this enable overall comments so you can put in comments that aren't tied to your specific criteria too. And I'm gonna hit save here. All right, so let's build out the skills you want to evaluate the players on. So now we can click in to back up a second. So I can add evaluation criteria. And so what was one of the first things you wanted to look at?
I wanted to look at the ability to read the game. So
okay. So we got ability to read the game, and we can put it in here as our typical slider scale, where it's going to be, 1 point to 5 points, with 5 being the best for scoring the players. We also have some other options of how to do settings, and then we can put in instructions if we want to. So we could do, how we average scores together if there's multiple evaluators. Usually for in-season evaluations, it's going to be more that one coach that's going to be putting in scores. So the way it aggregates up probably doesn't matter too much. Slider scale, can just stick with that one. And I'm going to hit save here. So we got that criteria built.
Okay. Let's do fitness, overall fitness.
Overall fitness. Get that one created. So we've got ability to read the game, overall fitness.
Technical skills.
Ability to read the game, overall fitness, technical skills.
Let's do one more. Let's do attitude and teamwork. My coach buddies are going to tell me I missed a whole bunch of things that they'd put in, but.
All right, so we got those. Do you think as part of this, then you want to have a couple of things that are going to be areas that need improvement and like ones that they exceed on, or would you want to leave those into your overall comments, or? We can certainly leave them in overall comments.
Yeah, let's leave them in overall comments for now.
Okay. So we've got these basic skills, and I'm going to add in a couple that are going to be measured things that you might use, in various sports. That would be, let's just call these, not just timed, but so timed and rep skills. And I'm going to do this one as quantitative, and I'm going to hit save. So I'm just going to add in a couple of my favorite ones in here. So let's add in something. I'm going to do 40-yard dash. So that's going to pull up a timer where you can record the player sprinting and doing that 40-yard dash. Add criteria. What's a fun one? Push-ups. So we'll do it. Let's see, we have instructions. Okay, so push-ups. We'll do this. How many in 1 minute? The instructions. And they'll put in push-up count. We got 40-yard dash, push-ups. Add one more. What would be another good one? No, I think of all the sports I've done, like crunches or sit-ups were ones that they did just about every sport. Jumping jacks. For guys in a lot of sports, you might measure your bench press or your squat as you improve through the season to improve, like, you know, off-field things, but on-field things. You know, the 5-10-5 is pretty common.
Yeah, I was thinking something agility wise.
Okay, let's put that one in here and save. All right, so we got players on the 40-yard dash, their agility, and push-up. So I think that's a good starter. So we've got these set, and right now we've got them set so that, you know, as far as scoring the players, half the points for this round of in-season evaluations is going to be based on the basic skills, and half is going to be on these time and rep drills. Now, you said you wanted to do a couple of different sessions over the year, right?
Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm going to ask my coaches to do an evaluation once a month, so that they don't push it all to the last week of the season. So because it's already November, let's pretend we're going to do a November evaluation, a December evaluation, and a January evaluation.
All right, so to accommodate that really easily in our, you know, in-season setup, we've got this evaluation schedule option. So let me just add in some evaluation schedules. So I can create one, and we'll call this one. What was the first one you want to do? November?
November, yeah, we'll do it by month.
So I'll call this November one, and it'll include those two forms. To go back here and add the player pools once I get those, but then I can set this one to be open from the beginning of November. Hit OK, and then I can set it to close down for access the end of November. So I can automatically time box it. I can generate an access key here, so my evaluators and coaches, if they're going to use the access key, would just use that access key for the November one.
That's right. So you better do all your work in November, because if you're late, you won't be able to get in.
Yep. Let's do December then. And this one I'm just going to have set to close the end of December, since we don't know when we're going to start that one. And then we'll do one more here. So we'll create one more, which is going to be January.
Yeah, this club is in the southern United States. It's where it's not quite so cold. You can play in January and not get frostbite.
You'd be surprised at all of the Little League and baseball and soccer clubs, and you kind of name them, that play in the southern U.S. in the winter. When we've got snow up here, it's nice down there, so they can keep doing things. All right, so we've got these set up. And now we want to go in and add in our pools for this in-season evaluation. So most common setup that I see for setup in season evaluation is going to be by team. So, you know, imagine you put your players on a team and they're ready for these in-season evaluations. It might be, you know, let's call it the Red 2021 Eagles. And they're going to be, you can say that they're going to be accessible to do all of these different evaluation sessions. And I'm going to hit save. So we just created that player pool for that team. You could also break it down and have it be by the coach's name. So it could be Ruth team. I'm also going to give access to all those different sessions, and I'm going to hit save. So really kind of a couple ways to bring these in as you do the in-season evaluation. So I either see them as the name of the team that's going to be used. If you bring them in from, you know, Sports Engine or Team Snap or your other databases, the players might come in as the team they're on. It also may come in as the team being represented by the coach's name. So kind of two different setups I see there.
So if you have teams already in TeamGenius, maybe you had a tryout earlier in the year, can you bring those teams over because they already exist in TeamGenius?
Yeah, so I could go over to players here, and I can actually go into add players, and I can add players from TeamGenius team. So if you've already got all of your players in here, I can actually go in and I can go click on, let's say this one, the 2019-06 Boys Blue. And I know that I need to update the year of it, but I've got this team. I can hit add players. When I hit add players, you're going to see that it brought those players in automatically. So if I go into setup now, you're going to see that I've got the player pools added. So it's going to automatically have brought in that team of players. It's going to have them ready to be evaluated. And we're going to be good to go with that. We may actually have to go back one step and add them to the evaluation schedule for each one of these. So once we get all of those teams brought in that we're going to evaluate, to make sure that they're represented in that evaluation session. So I do need to add that back in for that November one.
So with your evaluation sessions, you want to make sure that you've identified all the scoring forms that you're going to need for that session and all of the teams that you want to evaluate in that session.
Yep.
Because if I forget to check one of those, then it's not going to show up on my smartphone or my tablet so I can actually evaluate those players.
Yeah, and that's a common thing that happens. So organizations will come in or clubs will come in and they'll add players and player pools. Then they won't go back into that session. So maybe they're November evals and they'll forget to add their different player pools or teams in here. So they do need to add them in after they bring them in so that they're there. They won't automatically get added and make sure that it's saved so that they'll be available for scoring for each one of your sessions.
So the other thing to watch for when you're in your evaluation schedule, if you set a start date, so if you pop into November, if you hit a start date, but somebody wants a sneak peek as to what the scoring forms look like, if that start date hasn't happened yet, it also won't show up on your mobile phone or your tablet. So just know if you want a sneak peek, the start date may or may not block that out from you. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking about all my teams have coaches. And for in-season evaluations, it's really my coaches that are doing that work. If I want to see if my coaches are actually evaluating my players, how do I do that?
Yeah, so a little bit different process. We can go in here and actually make it so that the coaches get invited into the evaluation and they can also get tracked. So let me walk through that. So if I go in and I got this mostly set up, kind of a new feature that we added in this season was our coach assignment feature. So first thing I would need to do would be go into my dashboard, go into the lower right here and go into manage coaches. Once I go in here to manage coaches, now I can add it. You can see a coaches I've already got in here. If I need to add a coach, I can hit create coach. And I can do that. Really, all I need to do to create a coach is going to be the first name and last name. So I could do Sam Smith, and it could be, whatever it is. It could be ssm@gmail.com. You can actually add them to teams if you know the specific teams are going to be on right here. I'm going to save. And so that's all that you need to do to actually create a coach is add in those details. And then you can edit coaches here if you want to. But I need to add in my coaches. Now I'm going to click back up on the upper left-hand corner on the TeamGenius owl. And I'm going to go back into that Ruth's 2020 soccer in-season evals. And once I add those coaches in, so they're actually in the system and they can be used, I need to go back into my setup and I can go into player pools. And so remember how these player pools for that in-season evaluation represent the teams. I would need to go in then and assign those players, those coaches to these teams. So I've got Bob, he's going to be part of this team. I've got Gabe and I've got Fred. And these are all the coaches that are going to be needing to evaluate players for this team. And then I can go, put someone down as the head coach. Maybe this person's the assistant coach. So I can put in what their title is and then hit save. And so now those coaches have been attached to that team. Now, if I want to go into this team, I can also do that since there's players already checked in. I think I will. that player pool is available to have all of these different sessions attached to it. I've got 2 coaches that are brought in as part of that team. Let me add in one more, Sam Smith. And then I'm also bringing in Gabe and Save. So now I've got my player pool set up, and I'm going to go in and assign these coaches really. So the idea is that I can track their progress. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to evaluation, and I'm going to go to assign coaches. So now I can see all the coaches that I've got. I can see the teams that they're associated with, and I can see their titles for each one of those. I can sort and filter if I want to. But say I want to get my evaluations going with my 2019 06 Boys Blue. And that's the only team I really want to do right now for those November evaluations. You can see that I can select November evaluations here in the assigned coaches, and then I can hit send invitations. What this is going to do is it's actually going to send an email to those coaches, to the email that we put in for them. And it's going to, in that email, have a deep link. So they're going to be able to click on that, and it's going to do one of 2 things. It's either going to open TeamGenius on their mobile device. So if they've got TeamGenius on their phone, they get their email to their phone. You get the email, click on it, and it's going to open up TeamGenius right to your team on your phone. Or if you get it on your computer, it's going to open up our web eval tool so that coach can then jump right into their team and start putting in scores.
So if you do it that way, then they don't actually have to know what that 5-digit access key is, do they?
Nope. So
because that link is going to take them right into evaluating players.
Yep. And that's one of the nicest things. Then they don't have to go in and do the sending access keys. I mean, they certainly still can, but the coach will be able to go right in and do that.
All right. So you've invited us, but how do you know that Fred and Sam have actually evaluated their players?
Yep. So the same way that I invited these coaches with that email address, that's the one they're going to use hopefully for putting in their scores. They would need to, if we're going to track it correctly. It sent them that email that's got a link that's going to bring them right into where they need to evaluate. Now they can go into assignment status. And in assignment status, they're actually able to see that now. So you can see these 3 coaches. You actually get all your coaches that are part of this evaluation. And I've got these 3 coaches. I got Fred, Sam, and Gabe. And you can see the percentage of criteria they've scored right now. And once they start putting in scores, you'll be able to see these numbers tick up. The way that our system is looking at these is to say you've got 10 players and you've got those 4 criteria. So there's 40 criteria as part of that evaluation. It's going to give you the percentage scored of that 40 criteria. If you also enable the overall comments feature, it's going to count that as a criteria. So then you'd have basically 5 criteria on each player, so 50. So it'd give you the percentage of 50 criteria that scores have been put in on.
And they're still on their mobile app, whether they're using their phone, their tablet, or maybe they're even on their laptop. It's still telling them the percentage of their players that they have evaluated as well. They've got an analogous circle on their mobile device.
Correct. Yep. They're going to see how they're scoring. In fact, that's, I think, one of the things we could do here is we go in and put some scores in just a second on some of these players. So why don't we do that? I'm going to click back up onto the home button here, and you can see now we've got that access key. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to fire up my iPad, and I'll show everybody what it would look like to do this in-season evaluation scoring.
I'm going to score on my phone just so we'll have some scores.
Sounds good. Anybody else that wants to, that's on either Facebook or the Zoom, certainly feel free to log in and follow along with us if you want to put some scores in on our fictitious players. I'm going to log in here on my iPad. 6, 5, 5. Ruth, can you see my iPad on the screen here?
I can.
Okay. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller just so I can move it over.
That's all right. I've got it on my phone.
And so we've got UX4Y4. UX4Y4. All right, I'm going to hit sign in. And I've got my first option is I can see I've got all the sessions open right now. I did that on purpose so I could show you what the sessions look like. I'm just going to turn my iPad to the side so you can see a bigger screen view of this. I'm going to click on November. And now I can see that this is going to give me, right now I've only got one team that's got players checked in, but it's got all the players that are checked into that first November in-season evaluation. And I can go and hit start. And I'm going to go into basic skills. So now I can, as a coach, I can look at these players, and I got my first player, putting some scores in here, scoring their different things, technical, attitude and teamwork, overall comments. You know, for a lot of these things, I can put in a lot of different options. So if I've got any pre-canned comments, I can click on the plus here, add in a pre-canned comment. I can also type in comments or use speech to text. So one of the nice things is if your coaches are using their device and they're on the field or at their home, they can use speech to text and it will type out whatever they're saying to really easily leave those comments on the players. Probably one of my favorite features is the ability to do that. On the left-hand side here, you can see the different players and how many of their different criteria still need to be scored. So I can move around and pick a different player. So I can go to Bobby here, put some scores in. If you had the video feature enabled with TeamGenius, which is a different level of use, I could actually go in here and say ability to read the game, and I could click on the video, the camera there, and hit the plus, take video. I could flip this, and I could actually say now, you know, great job this season. You could do X, Y, Z for a little bit better ability to read the game, but great overall. Say a couple more things. The coach can actually flip their device, do a selfie style feedback video, and then they can use that video. It will automatically upload to the cloud once you hit the green button, and then that will be included with their in-season feedback evaluation. So seeing a lot more clubs going to that, actually doing video feedback, especially with people already being on their devices a lot and getting more comfortable with using that. So, Ruth, have you ever left video feedback for somebody?
I have not done that yet. I like that idea.
So when you're going,
yeah.
I was going to say, so when,
I'm used to hearing stories of people actually taking photos and video of the players doing things. So I like that literally turning the camera around to the coach and the coach being able to give feedback video as well.
Well, that's certainly something that happens too. You can certainly take, you know, video and pictures of the players doing these things that in part of their feedback, but I like the option of flipping it and giving them that feedback from you as a coach too. So I was going to say, so once we're in here too, we can go and flip. If I click down on the clipboard at the very bottom, I can switch, say I'm done doing all of my skills and I want to go into my time and rep skills. Now I can click on that. Now I can see, so let's go to Gabe Skelly here. We'll be kind of mean to him. He's going to do his 40-yard dash. I'm going to click on the start and he starts running and he's running and he's running, and say, you know, Gabe's maybe not a very fast runner. So he's still running. And you're just watching as he's really slowly walking down the field, kind of not running. Everybody else is cheering. And then finally at the, you know, 15-second or further mark, you stop. So that's his 40-yard dash time. I can hit save. And now that's recorded, and he may be the worst person at the 40-yard dash ever, but there's his score. I can put in some comments if I wanted to and say, needs to exhibit a little bit more effort on the sprinting, but he did a good job overall for his ability right now. So looking forward to progress on that. Now we can move it down and say push-ups. So we got Gabe here doing push-ups, and we can have a timer running, and we can count as he does push-ups and say he's really good at push-ups. So, you know, in that minute, he does, you know, quite a few push-ups. You can do that. And then for pro agility, for his 5-10-5, you can click on the timer again, start, back, forth, stop. And if we want to have an option here to maybe do the best of a couple, we have this one saved. So we saved that first score, but we can go and actually record another score. So we can see at the top here, we've got the current time. That was his first one, and we can hit start. He's back, forth, stop. And so that one's actually better. So I can choose to hit save now, and it will overwrite that previous higher time score. So if I want to get their best score, you have the ability to do that, to overwrite those previous scores that maybe weren't so great. So a lot of fun options there as you're doing the evaluations.
So we get everybody scored. We get some data in here. Now it's time to actually figure out how do we want to communicate the results of this assessment. And we can look at the results here in TeamGenius. The question is, how many different kinds of reports do we have that we could actually share with a player or a family?
Quite a lot. So let me jump into that, and I can show you some of those different reports. Kind of depends upon too, Ruth. How would you want to share those, right? So would you want to share those in person? Would you want to share those, in a different way so that they're emailed out? Do you want to share them in a digital format so that they can look at them like a web page? I guess one of them too is if you end up doing the video option, in the video option, you would need to use our web basically sending tool, which lets you send an athlete report link out to your players that has those videos embedded in it. So, and in those reports, I would say there's a big variance there, right? So there's organizations that will send out our athlete report link with some video. There's also some that will send out kind of traditional emails with a PDF attached. And there's some that will get a really nice printer if they don't already have it, get some heavy duty cardstock, print out those evaluations, and we'll go through what those look like, but they'll print them out and then have the coach maybe sign it as kind of a keepsake or, more physical example of how they did, especially if it's got a lot of positives.
So we really have sort of three big options. We have the print it and hand it to you option.
Mm-hmm.
We have the PDF attach a document option, and we have a report that actually lives in the cloud that you can pick and choose what parts of the report you want to send or share with a family. Before we do that, we just rolled out something kind of new. Gabe, our colors at TeamGenius are black and gold, but you know what? Not everybody's team colors are black and gold. What if I want my reports to be my team colors?
Yeah, so funny thing you brought that up is we just rolled out the options for anybody to be able to change those. So, and I can change those to something fun. So I'm actually clicking the upper right-hand corner here by my name and that organization name. If you're a user, you'll be able to see your organization name there. I'm going to organization settings, and I'm actually going to go into, this is where you can change your logo. So my logo is just me, but you can actually change those primary colors for athlete reports. And so I'm going to go with something crazy. So I'm going to go with pink. And then we've got our secondary color, and I'll do this kind of bright greenish color, just so they really pop. But you can see in here, you can actually put in, if you do a custom color, you've got the ability to put in your RGB color codes for your organization or your reports to really make them exactly the way you want.
I may have to wear my sunglasses to read this report.
Yeah, well, let's make it a little bit toned down. Ruth, what colors would you like?
Well, I'm in Seattle. I like dark green or I like dark blue and rave green.
All right, so let's do this blue and then do that green.
Okay.
Give that a try. So we'll do those colors. So you save those color settings. I'm going to go back in upper left-hand corner, get on the TeamGenius Owl. We go into the Ruth 2020 Soccer in-season evaluations. I'm going to go into results. Now I can see these players that I've scored, and let's look at Gabe here. So I'm going to look at the evaluation report first, and this is going to be the one that's going to show how Gabe did just individually on his own. And when we actually send those reports out, it'll change the colors. This is just the way it's sitting right now in mine. But you can see the feedback. You can see how this player did, how Gabe did on these different criteria. You can see the feedback here, the comments that were put in. And then you can see their timing on those skills drills. So options here are going to be that you can print it out. Again, this might be where you print it out and give a hard copy to somebody, or you can save it. Second option when looking at these reports is going to be going to the performance report. This is going to show your players, which you may want to do, but it's going to show them stack ranked against their team, right? So in this in-season setup, their player pool is their team, and it's going to show you them stack ranked. So we've got the pool average of attitude and teamwork is a 3.67, and Gabe was a 5.0. And then the pool, the actual rank was 1 out of 4 players. So you can see they were the best player for that teamwork, and so forth. You can see how they compared to their pool, so their team, on all of these different criteria. If that's something you want to share, I think it's maybe a little more pertinent to share those things when it gets down to the physical skilled things. So when you're actually looking at the dashes and the push-ups and these kind of things, if you want to compare them. Some organizations might not want to compare their players, and it might be just pure feedback on how they did individually.
It can be helpful if you have if you're helping parents understand that their son is not yet the next Wayne Gretzky, at least not this week.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, again, varying on how you want to use these reports. I'm going to go to rankings and team placement. So this is one of those places where you can see the different, just to give an example of how internally you could see how those reports will roll together and how the feedback is going to look on your players on those different sessions over time. So November, December, and January. But let's go back into the reports here a little bit. And I click on reports, and I've got all the different options here. So we've got the evaluation report. I've got a performance report. We've got a development report, which is a very nice report that's going to show how your players are improving as athletes overall, lifetime development of your players. This is one that you can right now do one-off on your players. So a lot of different report options. Again, you can pull your evaluation reports in bulk, or if you want to, you can send them out via email. So Ruth, what do you think you would want to do?
I want to email my report, but I don't want to have to send a single email to Gabe and a single email to Fred and a single email to Sam. And I mean, I could, if I have a really big team and I have, 20 kids on the roster, that's a lot of individual emails.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure I actually want to send the comments. So is there a way I can send my emails in bulk, but the right report goes to the right kid? And maybe maybe I can send the comments, but I actually don't want to say who made what comment.
Oh, yeah.
Can you do that?
For sure. So I can go over to messaging. And so in messaging, I will hit send emails. And I'm going to go in here and I want to include reports. So it's going to show, and I can say which sessions I want. So this example, I'm going to do just the November, but if I wanted to include all the different sessions together in one report the player gets, you can include them all. So they'll be included in one, attachment or one web page. And I can click my players. If I had all of my teams done at once, I can select all. In this example, I'm going to do just my boys blue team. I'm going to select these players. You can also multi-select if you want to, but I'm going to just click these couple. Looks like actually I do want to do all of these except for those 3 I don't have emails on. So I selected all my players I have emails on. I'm going to hit create message, and you can see the players with the emails they're going to go to them. You can see your from person's name and your from address. I'm going to grab a template here, and I'm going to go into season evaluations. And I can say, first name. So it'll drop in the player's first name. Congrats on making a certain team. I'm actually going to change this up a little bit. Say, please see your in-season evaluation report. Click here to view the report. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in a placeholder, which is our athlete report link. And it's going to put in basically a web link that's going to bring them to their secure page. It's going to show just their report. So I'm going to delete that. I can put in, other details, right? So I can put in pictures. It's a full HTML editor, so I can put in signatures. I can make it colored if I want to, but basically it's going to say, imagine if it's sending Gabe to Gabe, please see your in-season evaluation report. Click here to view the report. Thank you.
So before you go on, the athlete report link was under placeholders.
Yep.
Click on placeholders. Now, where did all of those placeholders come from?
So these come from where you have your player data in the system. So common things you have to have is your first and last name of the player. So you can automatically drop those in to customize them on your players. Then we've got Guardian first and last name, if those are things that you bring in, totally optional. But we've got evaluation group name. You can see player number, pool. So that would be their team name. So you might want to bring in team name for this in-season evaluation position. And then team is another one that's more, I guess, relevant to doing tryouts where you place them on teams if you're going to do a team placement offer.
So when I upload my player data to TeamGenius and to this assessment in particular, those player fields, those data fields are actually available to me to customize my emails.
Correct. Yep. Anybody can use these to customize their emails when they're getting ready to send them to someone.
All right. Placeholders are really fun. So the athlete report link lives as basically a URL.
Yep.
But, you know, remember I said, I think I want to include my comments, but I'm not sure I want the comments. I have multiple coaches and I don't necessarily have to tell the kids that the assistant coach said this and the head coach said that. Can I customize the information that goes out in this athlete report link?
Yeah. So once I select that athlete report link, it's going to give me some options down here. So it's going to give me, I can show their pool rank or not. So maybe we don't want to do that. I can show their session pool average. So maybe I don't want to do that. If I wanted to show media, so if I had taken either video of the players doing their evaluations, or if I did as a coach evaluation of that player, I can show that media. This is where I can do those comments, right? So I can show comments. And if I wanted to, I can even include evaluator name with comments. So maybe we want to show our comments, but not include that evaluator's name. I can unselect that, and it's not going to show the specific evaluator that put in those comments.
So I can choose how much of that information I want to share. Well, so how is that different than the attachments on the other side of the page?
So if I click on attachments, it's going to let me put in, any kind of attachment I need for my evaluation. Maybe it's going to be something they need to get where it's a health form they fill out, or maybe it's going to be something that, we've got a fundraiser coming up and each player needs to sell 3 calendars as part of our fundraiser for the club. So you can attach really anything you want with attachments, and it'll go out in bulk with these emails out to your players and their families.
Oh, like the new health and safety rules at my ice hockey rink.
Could be something exactly like that.
Okay, I'm nervous though, because this is going to more than one player and it's got those athlete report settings. Can I take a look at this email before I send it to make sure I didn't make any mistakes?
Yeah, you sure can. So we can go and hit the send test message, and I can send it to my email, and I can send it as if it were going to any one of these players. So I can do, Gabe Skelly, and I can hit send test. And then it's going to send me a test example of that email. So then you'll be able to get in your email what it's going to look like going to a player, basically the specific player. So if I wanted to see what it looked like to any one of my players, you can select it there and see what that player's report would look like before you send them out.
All right. So how do I know that they got the email?
Yep. So the next step, I guess, once you know that's what you want to do, is you'd hit send message, and you get one more time prompted if you want to send it or not, right? So you hit send, which I'm not going to do, but you hit send, and then once you get it going, you go to email history, and this is where you're going to be able to see that email history on your players, where it's actually going to show you the status of that being delivered, once it was sent, and the description of what you sent out to your players. So we've actually got another option too, where it's got more detailed tracking. Everybody that uses TeamGenius gets the kind of, the standard tracking where you can see that it was the status of the delivery, when it was sent, and who it was sent to. The other options is the ability to enable it to see when it was open and how many times it was open and those kind of things.
All right. So the last hint I want us to touch on is we talked a little bit about the development report and how our development report is meant to enable you to select multiple assessments. So a player's been involved in multiple assessments and you want to see how that player has developed over time. But there's a hint way back at the beginning that makes that work, which is back in setup on scoring forms. When we were setting up the scoring forms, there were actually 2 fields at the top of those criteria. So if we click into one of the evaluation criteria under basic skills, so we go back to edit that, make sure when you set up your scoring forms that you have both an evaluation standard and a display name. because that evaluation standard is actually what's going to tie together those criteria, so you can in fact look over time how your player improved in ability to read the game, or whatever that criteria happens to be. If evaluation standard is blank, it's going to make it really hard to run that report and show progress over time. So this is in a little bit more than a nutshell. In-season evaluations, we talked about how to set them up with your scoring forms and your player pools and your evaluation sessions. We talked about reports, how to share the information. You can print reports, you can email a PDF of reports, you can use the athlete report link and sort of customize the information you share in emails. We talked about linking them over time, using that evaluation standard to set yourself up for success. So we hope you've enjoyed walking through a lot of the pieces of TeamGenius so that you can use it. Oh, there we have the evaluation report.
So I wanted to bring this up before we end today, just to show you, and I can actually go back to one step to show you I got to it. But so in any one of your evaluations, you can go into the reports, and then those lifetime development reports, I can hit go to report, and I can pull that report up. I'm just going to put me in because I've got a lot of sample data on me to give you an example. You can pull up Gabe Skelly, and you can see all the different evaluations that I've been part of. You can select which ones you want. So maybe you have, you want to include tryout data, or you don't want to include tryout data with this report when you're running it. So I can, select a couple of these, unselect a couple. I've got some options around my reports, but when I hit create report, it's going to pull all these together based on what Ruth said, those evaluation standards, and it's going to show you the progress on those players. So imagine, I've got a 40-yard dash that happened 2 falls ago and over the summer, and then this fall, and then another one over the winter. It's going to pull all those data points together on your players so that you can see how they're truly progressing and working with your organization. So it adds value to not just your players and them knowing how they're improving, but also shows them, how much you're watching and really caring about those players improving as athletes to both them and their parents.
The other thing it can show as our kids go through growth spurts, and remembering that sometimes, I know with my sons, when they went through growth spurts, their coordination suffered. And so sometimes there are peaks and valleys in these graphs as our kids grow and hit those spurts and reclaim their coordination, so that it'll show you the lumps and bumps in development as well.
Yeah, some pretty neat stuff there. I mean, we've really come a long ways in being able to help clubs share that lifetime development with their players.
Thank you for joining us today. Gabe, we've got, how can they get in touch with us if they've got questions?
Anybody can email me if you want to, just gabe@teamgenius.com. You can go to the front page of our main website, teamgenius.com, and hit the chat with anybody. You can also, I'd say, emailing me if you need help with anything, or if you're not a customer yet and you're interested, reach out to us on Facebook or multiple different places. And we're going to start doing more of these. So we're going to do more of these, kind of show and tell of, what we're doing, what's working with organizations. And then we've got, Ruth, what else we're going to do as far as, engagement fun things coming up here once a week?
Oh, we're actually starting a series of weekly webinars. Some of them will be feature webinars like what we did today in terms of talking about tools, tips, and tricks with TeamGenius. Next week is really exciting because we're actually bringing back the Youth Sports Roundtable, which is something we did last spring when COVID hit and clubs were struggling with what do we do now. So we're bringing that back on Thursdays to answer your questions about what are you facing, what can we learn across sports, across states, across countries. Actually, we've had folks from at least 3 countries join us, which has been really great. So if you're interested in that, I was trying to get the link, and then our next feature webinar, which is intended to be more specific for customers is we're going to talk about scoring forms in more depth on the 19th of November. And that includes a little bit more about subjective forms, quantitative forms, and we've had some customers ask us to build out scoring forms to help track the COVID data that some leagues and some jurisdictions require. Those questions from the Centers for Disease Control for screening athletes and screening participants so that people stay safe in this slightly nutty era.
I know I'm excited. I love the roundtables that we've done in the past and just getting the views from, customers all over. I think we had customers from Taiwan and Africa and Canada and all over the US. And it's just exciting to see, all the different views and what people are doing that's working, how they're engaging with athletes, and also sharing their TeamGenius experiences. It's nice to hear what customers are doing and what ways they're being successful with using our software as we progress, and definitely build more things to try to help people develop better players and help their kids get better.
Yeah, it's I think actually we had somebody from Curacao as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's we're hoping that you'll join us with a roundtable and bring your questions, and it's intended that the community can help you find the answers you need. And it's been really fun across sports, learning what different sports are doing and how you can apply that to what things are like in your community. So hopefully next week, same time, November 12th, high noon on the Pacific Coast, 2 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. We'd love to see you again.
Hope to see everybody soon, and let us know any questions you have. Like I said, Gabe or Ruth at teamgenius.com. Email us. Always here to help. Reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere. We'll either help you or set you up with the right people at our company that can. And that's really what we do here. We're here to help you be successful in your organization with your players, parents, and as a club.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.